What do you do when like you first like find yourself in one of these pickles?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. I think when I sort of audit what I enjoy about training, like I think whether it's powerlifting, getting stronger, it's progress. Like it's that's the first thing is like moving forward in any area of life or any area of training is rewarding. But in those times where things are stale and it's not feeling that way, then there's nothing wrong with sort of leaning on the subjective satisfaction of doing like honest work, like
Yeah.
it's getting in there. It's like consider the alternative just not training. It's like you'll realize pretty quick that you're better off and happier when you are
Yeah.
training, even if your things aren't progressing the way that you wanted. And there's still a lot positive that can go on when you train, like, endorphins. And I mean, you feel better after you train, regardless of if you added 5 pounds to your, to the bar or added an additional rep. And I think that's in those situations, like I wasn't afraid to go in and just kind of like chase a pump, and realize like, okay, I'm doing enough work where at the minimum I'm able to hold my ground. I'm enjoying the session, and I have faith that like this is something that I can't, like, my quality of life is not going to be as good if I leave it out completely, which makes me think like, okay, if I'm going to keep doing this, then eventually things are going to turn around, and they always do when people stick with it. But it's definitely hard. Like I think a lot of people, in my shoes, where you finish that prep and you're feel a little bit lost. Like the sort of the easy thing to do sometimes is to pick another event, to work towards. And it doesn't always have to be a meet or a show. Like it can be, just sort of reframing what your short-term goals are. And it doesn't have to be performance related. And I think, the longer you train, one of the advantages of, being a more, advanced training status is like you can do relatively little and still get by and still kind of hold your ground, in terms of muscularity and things like that. So even when things aren't going well, if you're getting in there 2-3 times a week, like you're holding ground, like you're keeping, you're idling, but you're able to accelerate when the time comes. And I think that's what was important for me in that regard. But it can be challenging for sure. And I think once you go through it a couple times, I mean, after, you went through that 2-year stint, I'm sure as things like that come up again, it's easier to, kind of brush it off. And I've told this story before, like when, our first kid was born, when Brewer was born, like I think I took like 6 weeks off of structured training. It's like I was training just out of like habit and feeling bad not training, like I felt lousy when I wasn't training for an extended period of time. So I'd go in there, do a little bit, just get some blood flowing. And I remember at the time feeling very like, apprehensive and feeling almost guilty, like, okay, I'm regressing. And then like once I, slowly ramp back up, once that gauntlet of the first 6 weeks of having a kid is over, once that happened, like things, if anything, I was in a better position to progress at that point. I was able, like my body felt good. I was doing enough to kind of at least maintain, mobility in the movements. But, I think it was like 8 weeks after that, I set a deadlift PR. And so it's one of those things, like once, like now when I go on vacations, for example, like a lot of people will go on vacation, feel like, okay, I need to find a gym. And that's fine if you enjoy it. But like, if you want that week off, if you're craving a week just completely out of the gym, like take it, because you're not going to lose any ground in the long run doing so. And I think just going through that experience once or twice is valuable in itself. So I think that's a good thing for people that haven't experienced that yet is, learn from it when you're in the moment and realize like, okay, this is a valuable experience regardless.